Welcome to No Less Survival. That's where the more you know, the less you need. So it's Thanksgiving, and a lot of times that means that loved ones are gathering together and they're enjoying a meal together, and they're talking about what they're thankful for. You're going to hear a dog chewing the bone in about 30 seconds. So it got me thinking, a real blind spot that preppers have sometimes, and people who are preparing for SHTF scenarios, is this sense that they can do it all alone, right? The gear they buy, the materials and the supplies that they stash away. It's all with the idea of just me and maybe a close few others. We're going to be able to do it. We're going to be able to survive whatever the SHTF scenario is. If you're going all the way to the extreme, right? And we can't rely on anybody else or anything else, and it has to be on us. Now, there are merits to this, right? You never want to be in a position where you must be entirely reliant on somebody else to save you. We've seen in history what happens and when people decide to depend on someone else for their safety and security. But we've also seen in real life scenarios that the lack of community, the person who thinks they're going to go it alone, oftentimes is not the one to make it. There's a level of overconfidence which creates that blind spot I alluded to earlier. And I really believe that that blind spot is community. Why is a community important to survival? Well, first of all, you're never going to have everything that you need. You're always going to need something. And in an emergency situation, you don't want it to be then that you find yourself lacking and you have no human resource to fill that need. The second thing is not everyone can know everything. I have a certain set of skills. You have a certain set of skills. Our neighbor next door has a certain set of skills. And they're going to be, in most cases, divergent from us, right? They're going to be different and they're going to have certain advantages and disadvantages to their skills. And most of our skills are born from education or life experience. We all live different lives. So it's important to remember that we shouldn't be putting the blinders on and going headfirst into preparation and thinking to ourselves that that we can do it alone, and then inadvertently cutting out the community around us, which oftentimes has resources, both in human and relationships, that could benefit us should an emergency situation took place, should a natural disaster take place, a human caused disaster, or some sort of tragedy. Um, I always say all the time, no less survival is it's about the more you know and needing less, but some of that is also the people that you know. And therefore maybe you have to rely on, or you don't have to rely on your abilities as much in a certain sector in which you are less skillful, which will only allow you to branch out and grow more dynamic in the areas in which you do perform at the highest level. So I'd encourage everyone to take a look at the community around them, people who think like you do. It doesn't always mean your next door neighbor. Nowadays with social media, you can hop on and probably find a forum close to you in your area, within 10 or 15 miles, of people who think like you do, who want to live in the way that you do, and who maybe even see the writing on the wall to some sort of need for prepping that you do and that I do, quite frankly. And what I've found is local community forums tend to be a great resource for this. Um, Local events that are catering to the lifestyle of being a prepared person. Not just gun shows. I love gun shows, but other areas, farmers market, handmade fairs, classes that are often held for free. My community center um, and a couple other places will hold classes on the use of a tourniquet, on stopping the bleed, on CPR. And usually those classes can be kind of expensive, but they offer them for free. And usually the same people who show up are people who are thinking like me, or people who live in the way that I do, or are trying to be as self-sufficient as possible. Um, Go to places where people who think like you go. I'm in and out of electronic stores, thrift stores. I'm always looking for something to learn about how it works, to take it apart, to put it back together and fix it. Most of what's behind here is evidence of that. that's where I've found and had great conversations with people who think like I do. And those are resources and contacts that I could always um, take advantage of. And not just in an emergency situation, but as I prepare for those situations and as I learn and I expand my skill set. You know, he who is faithful in little is faithful in much. So if we start practicing that idea of community now, it can only serve us well when things get hard and we need that community. So once again, this is No Less Survival, and that's where the more you know, the less you need. And have a happy holiday.